Hi everyone, Jerome here, and would you look at this? Santa Claus did it again. He left me 12 gifts just in time for the 12 days before Christmas. Now I know a lot of you are saying the 12 days of Christmas are basically technically from the 25th of December to the whatever of January, and those are the 12 days of Christmas, and you know, true love gave to me and all that. But that's not as fun to do because, you know, you're going to be on vacation. Who's going to want to watch Jerome on vacation? Jerome doesn't want to watch Jerome on vacation. So anyways, yes, Santa Claus left me some gifts. And hopefully this year, blah blah blah, there'll be good gifts, blah blah blah, wink wink, nudge nudge. What is my first game going to be? I think I'm going to go for... This one looks nice. No loose discs. That's what Papa likes. Let's open it and find out. Ooh, what's this? Oh, South Park for the PS1. Now I'm a big fan of South Park, so hopefully this will not turn out to be a Mr. Hanky Christmas poo. Probably will, but let's find out.
Before diving headfirst into this garbage bin, let's at least treat ourselves to what is quite possibly the best collection of sounds in the known universe. I mean, good God, just take it in. This gives me a lot of flashbacks to watching late night TV or just late night gaming, you know, when your parents are either sleeping and it's Friday night and they don't really care if you go to bed at a certain hour, and you just get to watch TV and like color or read comic books and have like TV in the background, and there was South Park in the background, so I have a lot of good memories of this show just playing in the background. And that was like right before parents started like understanding what the show was, and they didn't know it was like this adult show with lots of swearing and all that good stuff. So back in the day, South Park, there were like cartoons are for kids kind of mentality. So I mean, there were the Simpsons and such, but yeah, South Park was kind of a kick in the pants when it came to swearing and stuff. So of course there was a whole South Park mania because the parents literally said don't watch it. So like the kids all went crazy. So there was South Park. The show the show was watched by a lot of people, and then there was a movie in 98 or 99, and then of course that's when the video games came in. And back then we didn't know about things like cell shading or even just using the animation style of like Stick of Truth or whatever, which looks just like the show. That would have been a show that would have really profited from some Parappa the Rapper type of graphics, whereas yeah, like most games, and obviously the mentality at the time was to go 3D. We gotta have like 3D textures and all that stuff. So this is yeah, I'm not quite sure if the PlayStation version came first or the N64 version came first. I think the N64 version was the original one, and the PS1 version is a port. Usually it's the other way around at the time, but this one in particular, if I remember correctly, there it is. I'm just catching up with my buddies, getting the boys together. I took Cartman because I don't know. I really like the Trey Parker's performance in this game. If the lines are going to repeat themselves a lot, might as well take the character that's, I suppose, more fun to hear over and over again. And I wouldn't want to not respect his authority. But yeah, I don't totally dislike this game. It's got decent graphics. I think what this game suffers the most from is a lack of imagination in terms of level design and in terms of challenges. I mean, I understand the turkeys. Like that was a season 2 episode or a late season 1 episode with the turkeys, and I get using that as your main enemy for the first batch of levels. That's one thing about this game, is that it has like waves of different enemies, but only in different levels. So like level 1s to 3 or 1 to 4 is the turkeys, and then you have clones, and then you have like the Mephisto clones, and then you have robots and toy robots and stuff. And I think it creates kind of a lack of variety, both visual and just for combat. Like most combat for this particular game is basically you get bum rushed, so you just start shooting while moving backwards, or if you're stuck against the wall, you just eat the damage because there's Zerg rushing you, so there's really nothing you can do. So like you see here, I'm just slowly heading backwards and shooting, and then I'm gonna go move forward until the next wave of enemies where I'm gonna go backwards and stuff. It makes combat very repetitive, which is something that's not that common for first-person shooters. I mean, I know like you could say something like Doom is pretty much the same experience over and over again, but it has a variety of enemies. It has a variety of weapons, even though obviously it's quote unquote more of the same. It has that kind of visceralness going to it, that you have all these different enemies that have different types of attacks, whereas this one is clearly just Zerg rushes, which fine, it works okay for a FPS or a Doom clone, as we used to call them on console, especially. Like, this was an era where we just started sort of getting them. There was the Alien Trilogy and Alien Resurrection games. There was just quite a few. Some of the build engine games like Duke 3D and Doom and such were Doom is Doom Engine, of course, were coming on the console, so it was a different time. Like, this one has a combination of I know Alien Trilogy is the first game to try on console, or at least the first like major game to try to do the twin stick with the analog stick. But at the time, that's one thing that, like, if you're younger, you don't maybe realize. But the PlayStation originally came with a controller that didn't have analog sticks, so you would have it wouldn't be until a while before we have our first DualShock controller, which came with the rumble feature and the analog stick. So a lot of games had trouble integrating this at first, or were weary of integrating it as something more than just repetitions. Like, for example, you'd have your D-pad be repeated in the left stick, so a lot of games just had that going for them. And then you had like the Alien games where you'd have it's kind of a weird thing where the left stick would go forward and backwards, but also I would also strafe left and right, or rather would also like pivot left and right, whereas the right stick would strafe instead of pivoting the camera, which now we're used to having the left stick move the character and then the right stick move the camera. So that was that took a bit of time before that became like the norm. But South Park is one of those games that sort of helped that go along, which is always interesting. I mean, it's not a completely terrible game, but as you can see on screen visually, it becomes very repetitive very quickly. Like just the first couple levels, it's basically just the same. One thing that is interesting about this particular game is there is a sort of variety of weapons, and there's also two modes. There's a regular mode of shooting a weapon, and then there's the turbo mode, or the alt fire, basically. Like, for example, with the dodgeball, you have a faster shot of dodgeball. You have the regular dodgeball, and you have the thunder dodgeball. For the snowball, which is your basic weapon, then you have also the P snowball, which is a wind-up snowball. It takes a few seconds before shooting, but it does about like the damage of 4 snowballs. So if you're able to line them up properly and hit those turkeys right in the butthole, like I just did, it helps them go down faster. So it's all a trade-off. However, if you have a Zerg Rush mob coming at you, you want to take the faster snowballs, because the little enemies, they die at one they die basically with 1 snowball per enemy, so it's not that bad to just take regular snowballs. A lot of this game also has that classic PS1 fog of war situation. Like, not every game is Silent Hill. That was augmented by this. I'm thinking a lot of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 and 3, even 4, but especially those first 2, that like you had a lot of the fog, so the levels had like the draw distance wasn't as strong as you'd have in obviously for hardware reasons, but it would make the levels feel a little on the bland side. Like a lot of it is just walking around the same types of hallways and such. You'd have some puzzles. There are some puzzles in South Park. It's not all just running around and shooting. There are little moments like here, but this is like the first major hurdle for most new players, because once again you're playing with a sort of a twin stick shooter, but that has a weird way to the transversal is kind of weird on this. So it's a little there's a learning curve, but yeah, as you can see, I'm quite enjoying the wind up. So this is like the first. There's no other jumping sections before this part that are like major jumping sections, and now you have a moving platform, as well as like a jump to another moving platform, and then if you fall off, you get dragged back to the beginning of this section. So it's this is one of the first major points of frustration for this game. I mean, it's also just a case of get good, right? But yeah, it's pretty much this game in a nutshell, where you have some experiment, but you have kind of a lack of ambition in terms of I don't know. I think it's interesting, once again, as a time capsule, see what was available on consoles, because yeah, but it is very limited in that. Another thing I like about this game in particular is the radar screen. I find that it's a nice addition to know when you have waves of enemies coming at you. Sometimes it's not clear where they are. It feels a bit like not to use the Alien movies as a metric for everything, but in Aliens, when you have well, the first one as well, but in Aliens especially, when you have the aliens rushing you, you don't quite know where they are, if they're above or below you, because they're going to be there. So once again, now I made it across, and automatically there's going to be some enemies spawned for sure, and yeah, lo and behold, now they're already on top of me. So and then I have to go backwards and shoot them, and it becomes yeah. So the combat, it gets really tedious really quick. The levels overall are kind of on the long side. I would have honestly went with a few shorter levels, at least to begin the game. This is part of that time in gaming where you rented games at Blockbuster and such, so they'd make games a little harder or a little more time-consuming, so that you'd rent them again. Cool thing about the game, it has the voice cast of the show, so you got Trey Parker, Matt Stone doing most of the characters, and then you've got, of course, Isaac Hayes as Chef, before he joined that fruity little club. So yeah, the regular enemies are kind of boring, and then the bosses are pretty much just big versions of those enemies. So it's once again going into that sort of lack of imagination or variety. This battle in particular is kind of on the boring side. All you have to do is sort of make your way to the bottom of this turkey, but it is very finicky. What is a hitbox, what is not? So you've got like these kind of like that fun semi-European jank to it. I don't know quite how to describe it. It's a game that is built on the same engine as Turok, hence why I said the Nintendo 64 version most likely came first. But yeah, oh, they killed Kenny. Those bastards. I guess it's the end of the episode.
Huh, well, this was certainly something. Well, I guess that's it for our first foray into gifts from Santa Claus. Thank you very much, Santa. Or should I say, Satan? How about you come back tomorrow and find out if Santa left me a better gift? He better. See you tomorrow.